Welcome back to the pregame show. The RoughRiders opening their final series at home here tonight as they take on the Corpus Christi Hooks. And I'm joined by last night's starter, Phil Klein, who was making his first professional start, going 3 innings. Phil, you look pretty good. It's clearly something we talked about last night, you making your first pro start. We talked about it on the air, but is it something that's significant for you? Is it just another day out there on the mound?
I try to take it like it's just another day on the mound. As far as, my pregame last night, I went out through just like I do, coming in relief, doing the same thing. And, probably got out here a little later than, the starters that we've had that, been doing it all season. But I got out here, just came straight to the mound about 6:45 and, started throwing for a 6 o'clock game. So just tried to take it like another day. Just, I knew I had 2 or 3 innings, and I was just – my mindset was just like a normal day, but my 2 or 3 innings instead of, being later in the game or, at the beginning of the game starting it. So that's how I tried to take it.
And as far as before the game, not just the warm-up, but leading up to the few hours before, I often see the starters come in pretty late. Alex noted that you came in more on your usual time. You were here pretty early. What was the idea behind that?
Just like I said, trying to keep the same mentality, get here. If we got stretch at 3:30 or what it is, I'm usually here at 1 o'clock or so. Get a little light running in, get some abs in, and just, not be rushed, to get anywhere. That was the only reasoning behind that. Just get into my normal time, and I wanted to do everything just like a day I'd come out of the bullpen and throw 2 innings, just something similar to that.
You've just been taken off the inactive list and got to start last night. How did you find out you were going to get it, and were you surprised at all? What went through your mind?
I was a little surprised. I guess when I came back on, Tufts went on the DL. They needed someone to fill in for his starting spot, and I guess that guy was me, and so I was ready to go. I enjoyed starting in college, so I thought it'd be a fun thing to do here, just especially being my first start professionally. I had fun with it. I was really excited to go out and start the game.
Here with last night's starter Phil Klein, have there been moments, whether it was this year or last year as a pro, that you tried to lobby for a start in a spot like this, where you knew it was going to have to be somebody atypical, and you said, "Well, hey, let me give it a shot. I've done it in the past, and I enjoy doing it."
Yeah, I don't personally lobby, towards anything. That's up to the coaches and some of the higher ups in the front office to maybe decide who's going to get that start. So, if they choose me and it comes my time, I'll be ready to go. But outside of that, just day to day, be ready to go. Whatever the team needs, whatever the coaches need.
You talked about your routine yesterday. Routine today is a little bit different for you as well. Usually out there shagging fly balls, but the starter from the previous day is on the bucket collecting the balls as they're thrown in. That must be as crazy a break of routine as anything for you. You're being the isolated one behind the screen there.
Yeah, that I haven't done the bucket by myself, since college. I usually come out and help some of the guys that start, but the bringing it in is the big difference there. Is I usually help the guys out and pick them up for them, and they take them in. But yeah, that's 2.5 years in the making right there since that one.
You're a pretty tall guy, obviously. You got a rangy wingspan. Do you like shagging fly balls?
I do. I don't mind it at all. I usually come out here, maybe just depending on how our space is, find some open space and just get out and move around and get some balls.
Would you say you're the best defensive outfielder as a pitcher?
No chance, not me at all.
Who's that go to?
Oh man, that's a great question. I know Pusace when he was here was he covered a lot of range out there. I don't know, man. A lot of the guys move around out there really well.
Here with Phil Klein, the situation last night was one where you were making the spot start, which always makes it tougher because you're one less man in the bullpen. But the way that the games had gone the last few nights with extra innings and with a short start from Mavare the previous day, the bullpen was really taxed. When you went out there, was there anything said to you, and what was your mindset as far as making sure you could get through as many innings for the team as possible?
Jeff told me 2 innings, and I knew our bullpen was light, and so my only goal was to get out and especially the first inning or two. Just keep the pitch count down, man. That was the only thing that was on my mind because I knew, I was trying to give them, as many innings as I had. But that was honestly my one mindset, my one goal, for last night.
And you continued a trend that it's been a good one for you the last few times out. You've had your fair share of control issues here in AA, but just one walk over your last 5 appearances, which span nearly 8 innings. What's been different for you, and what was different for you last night when you walked just 1 and 3?
Just not thinking as much. A lot of my walks don't come from any mechanical issues. It's just all, in my head, thinking too much, overthinking things, during the game, which is just never beneficial. But just I wanted to go out to, especially this last month, and especially this last week, is just go have fun. Not think too much, just throw the ball like you've done a million times.
Here with RoughRiders pitcher Phil Klein. Now that we are out of the dog days of summer, you talked about being kind of near the end of the season here. Is it easier or more exciting to go out of there on the mound when you've only got a couple of appearances left? You're expected to start again on Saturday. Is it one of those things where you get close to the end and you feel like maybe this is your last chance, your second to last chance to really prove something?
Yeah, I mean, you put together a whole season, so I'm not too worried about putting one outing together to convince people one way or the other. But it's more just for me to finish strong and know I end the season better than when I started, and better than the middle of the season and whatnot. Just to finish on a good note and finish how you want, and just do your best. And that's, I think, one thing that's helped me is just I know I'm trying to have fun this last month or so, and just kind of release the vice off my mind about thinking about too many things out there.
Well, you had gone 3 innings a number of times this year here in Frisco, and even once with Myrtle Beach at the beginning of the year. But you will make the start again on Saturday. Got your first professional start under your belt last night. What do you want to work on? What do you want to improve on for Saturday's outing?
Same stuff. Keep the walks down, and most of all, keep the pitch count down. That's the biggest thing. I just want to get my innings in, and save some of the guys in the bullpen that we might be taxed that day or whatnot. But just I don't want to get anything this last week of the season too crazy coming out of the bullpen, just spending guys left and right. So that's the biggest thing. Just keep the pitch count down.
Here with Phil Klein, the starter last night for the RoughRiders. Phil, last thing I want to ask you about it. In the media office, we've been tossing around an idea that we did here last year, which is a fantasy football roster of the RoughRiders roster. So how would you construct the team position by position based on each player? Now, you're a pretty big athletic guy. I think a lot of people would look at you and say maybe a basketball player. Yeah. Certainly have the kind of athletic build to play really any sport. If you were on a football team, where would it be?
Oh, man, we've talked about that here. We had one day where we ran football routes for some conditioning. That was a big discussion that day. If I'd put on some muscle, maybe a D end, or work on some hand skills and become a tight end, I'd say one of those two for sure.
So if you were the tight end, we've been trying to figure this one out. Who would be the quarterback throwing to you?
That's the question. We had some discussion with McBride when he was here. Now I don't know. I'd have to see some guys throw the football around. That's a great question.
All right, well, thanks a lot, Phil. Good luck in your start on Saturday. Nice work last night, and hope you finish strong here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That was Phil Klein. We'll be back after this on the Frisco RoughRiders Baseball Network.